Supreme Court is independent of the legislature and the executive. It acts as a check on the arbitrary exercise of the legislative and executive power. It is the final interpreter of the Constitution, and it also serves as a tribunal for the settlement of disputes between the central government and the state governments. Given the tremendous importance of the role and functions of the Supreme Court and the High Courts, various measures have been adopted to ensure the independence of the judiciary. However, time and again, one finds that the courts have not performed as desired and have violated the spirit of constitutional democracy. The most striking criticism against Indian judiciary is that millions of cases are still pending in different courts even to this day, and there is a huge accumulation of backlog. Hence, it takes years together for the existing courts to dispose of the backlog. Further, new cases keep piling up onto the existing bulk. Thus, there is an inordinate delay in the dispensation of justice, and as the saying goes, justice delayed is justice denied. Reasons for this problem are generally attributed to structural and procedural flaws in the judicial system. Sometimes the judges deliberately adjourn and postpone decisions. Hence, many cases get delayed for years together. Another weakness of the judicial system is cumbersome procedures and forbidding cost of justice. One finds that even the public confidence in the judiciary has decreased in the recent years. However, steps have been taken towards reforms with some structural changes in the judicial system. Firstly, to lessen the burden of cases pending with different courts, the Supreme Court gave a ruling in 2009 that superior courts can dismiss an appeal if they are convinced that there is no merit in the case in terms of fact or law, and such an appeal is wastage of time and money. However, before dismissing appeals, it is necessary that the court passes an order making it clear that it has deliberated on the pleas and found them devoid of any merit or substance. In 1987, the Legal Services Authorities Act was enacted by the Parliament, which came into force on 9th November 1995 with an object to establish a nationwide uniform network for providing free and competent legal services to the weaker sections of the society on the basis of equal opportunity. Steps have also been taken to render legal aid to the needy and the poor by way of holding user-friendly courts from time to time in different parts of the country, wherein millions of cases have been settled. One such court is the Lok Adalat or public court, constituted under the Legal Services Authorities Act of 1987. Lok Adalat is a forum where the disputes or cases pending in the court of law or at pre-litigation stage are settled or compromised amicably. As per the Act, decisions made by the Lok Adalat are deemed to be a decree of a civil court and is final and binding on all parties. No further appeal against this can be made before any court of law. The best part of Lok Adalat is that there is no court fee and procedural laws are not followed in the strict sense. The parties to the disputes, though represented by their advocate, can directly interact with the Lok Adalat judge, and they can explain their stand in the dispute, which is generally not possible in a regular court of law. Hence, it is a worthy step taken. Yet another user-friendly court is the institution of Gram Nyayalayas. The 7th Law Commission under Justice M. Jagannath Rao in 2003 contemplated that the setting up of Gram Nyayalayas or village courts, as the name suggests, could process 60 to 70% of rural litigation cases, As a result, the regular courts in district and subdivisions can devote more time to complex civil and criminal cases. Accordingly, in 2009, an act was passed to set up more than 5,000 Gram Nyayalayas in various parts of the country. So far, only 6 state governments, namely Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Maharashtra, Odisha, Jharkhand and Karnataka have notified 159 Gram Nyayalayas. These courts would function like mobile courts and visit villages to dispense speedy justice by adopting summary proceedings. Another important reform is the setting up of the National Legal Services Authority, or NALSA for short, under the Legal Services Authorities Act of 1987. It was set up to monitor and evaluate implementation of legal services available under the Act. The NALSA issues guidelines for the state legal services authorities to implement the legal aid programs and schemes throughout the country. Primarily, the state legal services authorities, district legal services authorities, Taluka legal services committees, etc. have been asked to discharge 2 main functions on a regular basis. First, to provide free legal services to the eligible persons. Second, to organize Lok Adalats for amicable settlement of disputes. These apart, NALSA has earmarked observance of 9th November every year as National Legal Literacy Day. The main objective of this day was to reaffirm NALSA's commitment, solidarity and support to the disadvantaged people to make the legal process a surer means to social justice by providing free legal services and making people aware of their legal rights. Yet another reform is the setting up of the National Judicial Academy in 1993 by the Government of India. The Academy provides in-service training and continuing education to judicial officers of states or union territories as well as ministerial officers working in the Supreme Court of India and the High Courts. The objectives of the Academy are judicial reform and policy development as well as research support services for greater efficiency, fairness, access, productivity. It also includes improvements in court administration and management for a litigant-friendly justice system. Another major reform measure is the setting up of the National Judicial Commission with the Chief Justice of India as the chairman, other Supreme Court judges and Chief Justices of High Courts as its members. The Commission looks into matters of favoritism, partiality and discrimination on part of the judges and will also take into account their properties and assets. These apart, suggestions for judicial reforms have come up from time to time to bring economic, political and social justice. In fact, the 10th Law Commission had invited suggestions from all quarters of society for judicial reforms. Among the suggestions, to reduce the load of the Supreme Court of India, which accepts nearly 1 lakh cases every year, whereas the US Supreme Court accepts only 100 to 150 cases of the 5,000 filed. Another suggestion was to set up a constitutional court to deal exclusively with constitutional matters, and another was to establish zonal courts of appeal in the country. Another suggestion was to prescribe time limit for arguments. The number of appeals and stays should be reduced. Software should be generated to segregate similar cases so that a single judgment relevant to such cases can help in disposing of all of them in one go without delay. Fast-track courts have also been recommended by the 11th Finance Commission. Now for conclusion, one can say for decades together, judicial system in India has been crying for reforms as cheap and speedy justice has been by and large elusive. There is a huge pendency of over millions of cases despite measures to reduce it. Experts have expressed fears that there has been loss of public confidence in the judiciary and an increasing resort to lawlessness and violent crime to settle disputes. They feel that public confidence in the judiciary must be restored immediately in order to arrest and reverse this negative trend. Effective governance depends very much on the smooth and sound functioning of the basic institutions of the government. If these institutions overstep their jurisdictions and misuse their powers, they would then be guilty of violating the spirit of constitutional democracy. Therefore, there is a need for systematically conceived and implemented reforms of these institutions to ensure effective governance. We must remember that most rules and procedures of the judicial system in India have their roots in a colonial background where rules were made by the superior race for the natives. Then, the key consideration was the convenience of the bureaucratic machinery rather than the common man. Hence, it is now essential to bring about a change, or paradigm change rather, in this mindset and carry out a re-engineering of the complete set of rules and procedures. In fact, the Indian judiciary requires far-reaching changes sooner or later.